today, and to everyone who is attending this session. As you also see in the screen, we have a super interesting presentation. Small data, big results, tracking website conversions for smaller manufacturers. Diane and James, they are both subject matter experts, so they will tell us more today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having us, and welcome to our presentation. So I'm Diana Huff.
Hi, I'm James Aloysius.
Hold on, it's I can't get, oh, sorry. I'm Diana Huff, founder and president of Huff Industrial Marketing, and I am a manufacturing marketing expert. I've been in manufacturing my entire career. And in fact, I put myself through school making sales for sailboats, and then went on to work 7 years as the office manager for a small woman-owned manufacturer in Palo Alto, California, where we made custom cloth products for military and aerospace. I then went on to become a Marcom representative at Varian Associates, also in Palo Alto, where I supported 2 factories, nuclear magnetic resonance, and analytical instruments. I went out on my own in 1998 and did B2B freelance copywriting. Did that until about 2013 when I was completely burned out. I was writing everything for everybody. Took some downtime and realized I really wanted to focus on manufacturing because that was my love and that's what I was good at. And so I changed my entire business focus, went and my business name. And so I'm now Huff Industrial Marketing. I work specifically with smaller manufacturers based here in the US. I'm also a Made in USA advocate, meaning that I buy Made in USA as much as I can. And I have a blog, Keep It Made USA. And when I'm not working at the moment, even though I say I'm an avid cyclist, I am taking care of my high energy German Shepherd dog. He's 14 months old. He's from a working line, and he all my time is spent playing, training, walking, and just dealing with him. So also joining me today is James Aloysius.
Hello, I'm James Aloysius. I'm a currently freelance software engineer. In my experience ranges anywhere from Bitcoin and Ethereum-based blockchains to automotive sales. My specialty is primarily backend, whether that's microservices, APIs, monitoring, but I've recently shifted to full stack work, so be that database administration, backend, front end, primarily with React. In my spare time, I also like to game.
Okay, so our clients, so as I said, we work with smaller US industrial manufacturers, and they can be in one of 2 groups. For example, Titan Abrasive, they're what's called an OEM or an original equipment manufacturer. And this company makes big things. This is a blast room. So this is an enclosure where you would go in and a company such as GE Aerospace would blast, they would have a blast room on premise and they would blast the jet engines in order to prep the surface for something, some type of application. Titan Abrasive also makes all the stuff that goes with the blast room. So blasting, sandblasting, although you don't use sand. We work with a lot of companies that make parts that go into assemblies or sub-assemblies, machine parts, urethane parts, any kind of parts. And then these companies all work primarily defense, aerospace, industrial, non-invasive medical devices, anything that needs something manufactured. Now, the reason why I'm bringing all this up is because these types of manufacturers, at least the ones we work with, they have 50 people approximately or fewer. They don't have a marketing department. And so they have what I call small data. They maybe have, say, 800 to 2,000 visits a month to the website. They have very little e-com, if any. So, and there are manufacturers who have big e-com, but they usually use something like Magento. So they wouldn't go with us because we work primarily in WordPress. So a Titan Abrasive does have some e-com, but it's a parts store. So it's not, he's selling blast rooms. They don't have an app. They're not heavy social media users. And for them, desktop rules, because the people who are buying from them are business owners of other manufacturing companies or industrial companies, or they're engineers. So these people are at their desk on their desktop computer, and they're usually working Monday through Friday. So what's really interesting is that on the data, on the website data, it's like a graph. It's a peaks and valleys like this. So you can see the weekends where there's no traffic. So, and then what we do, and this is not a sales pitch, but I need to set up the background for how we get to conversion data or conversion tracking. So we make custom WordPress websites using the Gutenberg editor. We don't do any website builder plugins or anything. Everything is custom to the manufacturer. Case Engineering, they're another OEM. They make machines that do deep hole drilling. So think of vehicle pistons, vehicle engine pistons. They need a very precise and deep hole drilled. Also weaponry for defense or military. Those need deep holes. So anything that needs a deep hole, they make the machines that do that. So we make these websites, and then if the company wants it, they can hire us for follow-on marketing. And for that, we do content, pay-per-click, organic, whatever the client needs help with. We've done trade show back walls, business cards, collateral. And so because of this work that I was doing, I needed to start tracking conversions. So it took me, after I started Huff Industrial Marketing 2014, it took me a little while to figure out what the challenges the manufacturers were facing. So one was they didn't know where their leads were coming from. They definitely didn't use Google Analytics, or maybe would look at it, but didn't know what they were looking at. And they definitely did not know how to set up goals. So they didn't know where their leads were coming from. They also didn't know, so say a prospective customer calls, and I would say, so how many leads are you getting from your website right now? And they would say, I don't know. They actually didn't know. And I would say, well, how many do you need to get each month? Maybe 3, 5. I mean, I actually had someone say, yeah, 3 would be great. So they had very low expectations, and that's because they didn't know what could be achieved because they didn't have a marketing department. And the people who were doing their marketing were sometimes the admin, sometimes the engineer, and it was very scattershot. So the more I learned, the more I said, okay, I'm going to start tracking this for them. And I had actually just, I had done organic search engine optimization. I've done that since 2001. So I started doing Google Ads, I think around 2016 or thereabout. So I said, okay, I'm going to start letting people know where their conversions are coming from. So I called it my weekly conversion report, and I would send out this email every week. And I would say, so when we build a website, we use we use gravity forms. And so I would say, I could see in Google Analytics, okay, yep, they got 2 RFQ forms, and I could match that up with the gravity forms data. And I would say, okay, here are the 2 RFQ forms. Here's the company name, which they already knew because they got the lead. It came in on this date, and it came from this channel. It came from paid. It came from organic. It came from referral. It was a direct. It's an existing customer. And so, and I would do the same thing with email clicks. And then with pay-per-click, Google Ads has the dynamic call tracking. So we were able to track desktop calls. And so the more they started seeing this data, and then they could actually match up the sales, the more they started asking me questions like, well, what happens if we do this? And what happens if we do that? So we started over time, so instead of focusing on improving or doing more marketing, we started focusing on improving the website, because by this time, then customers were saying, well, let's set a goal. How many RFQs can we get each month or each year? And so we wanted to increase RFQs. So we started focusing on the website user experience. And, I think the mistake a lot of companies make is they need more leads, so they do more marketing. But what happens is their website, and I'm going to say we work with manufacturers. I look at websites all day long, and some of them are really bad. And so you're spending all this money on marketing, and then you're sending people back to this website that isn't particularly built to get you the RFQs that you want, or even built properly around manufacturing. And so people are coming to the website and getting a very poor user experience. And or in the technical world, they call it post-click user experience. So we focused on improving the website user experience in order to increase RFQs. And for example, this page right here is from our customer Applitech. They make specialty adhesives. For example, one of their adhesives is in the Hubble telescope, the satellite systems, aircraft, all kinds of industrial products. They do all kinds of adhesives for heat sink applications. So this page is their materials chart. It's a huge page. It's all these materials, and has all this sexy data for engineers. And right now you can see there's this filter, but when this page was originally created, that filter wasn't there. And so we noticed that more and more people were downloading the TDSs, the technical data sheets, and they were becoming sales tools. And so the question asked was, well, can we make it so that people coming to the website, they can filter this chart and make it easier to find what they're looking for? So our programmer, Stephen Merriman, said, yep. So he added these filters. So you can filter by the type of adhesive, the way it's produced, or if it's thermally conductive. And so there's all these different filters. So you can filter this very large chart down to, say, 5 adhesives. We also tested things like the request a quote button. We used to have it up in a, I don't know, super nav, I guess. Above the main nav, it used to say request for quote, and it was a text link. So we tested putting it in the main nav. We tested RFQ versus request a quote. We made it a colored button, and all these little things that we kept doing. And we were doing these every week across all of our clients. The RFQs started increasing. So we started learning a lot. And so over time, as I said, the RFQs started increasing. So for example, with one client, they started off with 39 RFQs in 2019. So that what's like approximately 3 a month. It's now 6 times that in 2022. And in fact, they're now exceeding 2022. They're just about exceeded their goal in 2023. Another client, they had 46 RFQs in 2020. It's now 3 times that last year. And he said we could share that he had an 81% revenue growth in 2022 over 2021. So as you can see, RFQs, tracking conversions had become very big to my business. Not only was I able to prove ROI to my customers for the money they were spending, they knew where all their leads were coming from. They could see improvement every month, and then especially over the year. And it was helping me and my team build better websites and also do better marketing. So when Google Analytics, or when Google, I should say, said, we're going to be ending Universal Analytics and we're going to go to GA4, I said, okay, no problem. I've been using analytics since before Google actually came out with it. I started with Urchin, which Google purchased, and I was Google Analytics certified. Like I said, I've been doing SEO. I used analytics all the time. I was no neophyte. So I was not worried when Google said you have to go over to GA4. And, but it was awful. Oh, the little emoticon didn't show up. So I spent weeks I took training modules. I used the one that Google put out. I was reading blog posts. I could not make heads or tails of Google Analytics 4. I literally felt like I was ready to cry. I kept telling myself, I can't be this stupid. And so then I actually found the GA4 sucks hashtag in Twitter and started reading it. I found this great post from Jill Andrews, who expressed exactly what I was feeling. Google Analytics 4 is making me cry. I've never seen a tool upgrade that made simple things so complicated. And she was right. Non-technical business owners were already struggling to use analytics. Now they have no chance. And she's exactly right. So I began looking for an alternative, and I was reading all these help threads and all kinds of things. And so I found the Matomo link on a GA4 help thread. And then a little emoticon is, the tears coming out there. And so I clicked on it and went to Matomo and said, oh my God, this is exactly what I need. And so I signed on last year. So I've been using Matomo for a year, and I moved my website over and also 2 customers over and started running both systems, UA and Matomo, in parallel. And so I could get used to it. And then I moved everybody over in May. So what we track using Matomo, again, form submissions. We also track email and phone clicks. So what we were tracking in Universal Analytics, except now it's much easier. We use Matomo URL parameters for people who are using Google Ads. And all of this information was available on Matomo help files. That's how I was able to figure it all out. So we use the URL parameters so I can see in the visitor log where the lead came from. And if you keep up with Matomo, they did put out a blog post last month that said with the iOS 17 update, Apple's not passing on parameter information for mobile devices. However, Matomo and Google URL builders, both those parameters get passed on. But we're on most of our traffic for clients comes from desktop. So parameters still work. And then the other thing that I love is I'm able to track first click attribution. So as I said, our customers are not heavy social users. They don't have an app, desktop rules. So I want to see, I don't care if they come back 5 times or 6 times. Most of the conversions, I would say 60 to 70% of conversions happen on the first or second click. So I want to know what that first click is so we can compare apples to apples. And then this is a screenshot from Matomo. So what I do is I set up my dashboard. So I have, for each client, I have my cards set up, RFQ forms, email, and phone calls. And then I just click the little link to segment in the visitor log, and then I can see all those conversions for the time period. So for this one, 29 RFQ forms in October. So for Matomo, setting up goals is relatively straightforward. Because we build the websites, we standardize everything. So it's very easy for us to make things very easy to set up goals. It's easy to set up goals. So for RFQ forms, that's the easiest one. We just do for every Gravity form, like say if they have a contact form or an RFQ form, each form, when you click the submit button, it sends the user to a thank you page. And it's that thank you page that fires the conversion. So that's really easy to set up. You just put in that URL. Then phone clicks and email clicks, those are set up through the tag manager, Matomo tag manager, and those are considered events. So when people click on the email, that fires it if you set up the trigger and the tag. And then we look at the data of where was the location, what time, what page should they click from, and where the lead came from, paid, organic, etc. And then tag manager. So I'm not a programmer. So I actually, before James joined the team, our website builder, Stephen Merriman, hold on. our website builder, Steven Merriman, he set up Tag Manager for me. So he set up the tags and triggers for the email clicks and the telephone clicks. Excuse me, I'm sorry. However, he made it so that he just gave me the code or the choices that I should choose when setting these up. So I could easily do it myself for all subsequent clients. The thing I love about the Tag Manager is if you want to create new events, you can just easily set up the tags and triggers, and then you hit publish, and then the tracking code on the website is automatically updated. So you don't have to replace the code. So all of this was really awesome. So by this time, I'm sending customers all of this information. Conversions are growing, sales are growing, but I'm still doing all of this manually. So I would go into Matomo and say, okay, here are all the RFQ forms for last week, and I'd have to match them up with WordPress. I would actually hand write them all down, and then put them into the email, and then also I would do that with all the email clicks and then any phone clicks. So it was a very laborious process. And so my charge to James Alavocius, who's a software coder, and my website programmer could have done this, but he's busy building websites. So James is a coder. So my charge to him was, make it so I don't have to manually compile conversion data each week. And this is a screenshot from here. You can see the conversion, the RFQ form. This is what I was doing, was looking at all this stuff and looking at maps and where did they come from. And so James is going to take it from here.
Right. So my first thought when Dan asked this of me was, there's got to be an API. There's got to be a way that Matomo is presenting this data like in their front end. And so there must be a way I can access it. Turns out there is. Matomo has a very well documented and pretty feature-filled API. So I got cracking. So from there, I built out a system where I could put together like data from their various APIs. So there is a visits log API, there's goal data, the visitor data, and I'm able to put that all together. So on Diana's end, all she sees is a very, very simple web front end I put together, which allows her to select the goals that she wants data for, as well as per company and per date range, all of which gets passed to a backend I wrote in Golang. So the front end actually gets some data from Matomo's API, such as company information, goal information, and then sends that to the backend, which then does a bit more heavy lifting with getting visitor logs and visitor information. Cool. So the visits log API is actually, as I mentioned earlier, very feature built. I can fetch all visit logs for a given goal, so much like how the front end does it. We can filter by goal conversions. So I do that. And then I get individual visitor data based on the visitor ID, put that all together, and then I can get information such as first click, like a visitor's first click, the date of their conversion, location, things like that. Right, and then I put it all into this nicely formatted Excel spreadsheet, which then gets returned to the front end. All this happens in seconds. So per goal, there are specific fields. So there's there are a base set of fields, and there are specific fields per goal. So the base set of fields includes the date of the conversion, as well as the visitor's first click date. Usually those are the same, but sometimes they are days or months, weeks, or even months apart. As well as the medium, whether that's paid search or paid advertisements or just direct website entry.
Yeah, and I'd also add on this report has changed the way I'm now viewing data. Customers love this new format. And so one of the things that we're going to do in the future is make it so that this data, they're going to get right now they're getting a report every month as I roll up the data every week. But in the future, the plan is to make it so they get one report for the year, and there will be a tab for each month with all of this data. And then we can slice and dice different things, because we're able to, you know, there's actually, it's not showing, but there's also a column where they, for sales, where they can put won or lost or any other notes. So it's all in one place for them. And, you know, it's made things much easier.
So on the technical side of things, I use Matomo's bulk API endpoint, which allows me to basically build a bunch of API calls and then fire them all off at once. So I'm not constantly hitting Matomo servers with API calls. Instead, I can hit it with like 2 or 3 calls, but in actuality, that can contain 10, 20 different individual actions. But that way, it keeps my rate limit usage in check. It also is easier for me to deal with, so that I'm not firing off a whole bunch of separate API calls in my code. It's just one, and then I parse through the data. My main complaint about Matomo's API, though, is that there's no like graph-like or GraphQL API. So I still have to make multiple API calls. So in the visits log API, for example, I get a visitor ID. I cannot also get the visitor info, which is without a separate API call, which is a little annoying. So I still have to query that. I still have to query goal data. So like if a goal has a conversion, I get conversion goal ID. Great, what goal is that? So what I want to start doing in the future is storing various metadata in like Postgres or something like that, so that I can just query, so that instead of having to hit the API, I can just query a database or a cache layer for what's this goal ID for this site ID, and just get that returned very, very quickly at the edge. So what I've been doing is using Vercel to deploy everything. Vercel, if you're not familiar, is a fantastic serverless front-end, back-end, etc. hosting platform. They also have database offerings such as PostgreSQL, which I've used extensively, and cron jobs, which are essentially timed tasks that run at given intervals. So what I have been playing with and what I want to implement in the future is having a lot of this data from Matomo pre-stored and just updated once a day or something, so that I can then use the API less over time, save for the raw visit log data, and then improve like response times from the front end that I built to the back end, and overall have a better experience for everybody.
This is why I hired him. I have no clue what he said. So basically, so how we use the data. So I get this really nice spreadsheet now. So as I said, we track first click, so we can easily compare lead sources, so clients all know where things are coming from. Also, we're able to identify highest converting landing pages. So yes, that's also in Matomo. I could go look at that, but it's also nice to see it in the spreadsheet. It's all in one place, and don't have to reconfigure things. And so this is really helpful. So for example, if a client says, well, we want to change our homepage, and I say, well, you know, your highest converting page is your homepage. Are you sure you want to do that? Oh, so that ends that conversation, or it shifts the conversation. Okay, well, what pages aren't converting as well? What can we do to make those better? So we're able to use that information. Lead sources, I've already talked about. Days to conversion, that's another thing. As I said, 60% or a little bit more of conversions happen on the first or second visit, which is amazing. So that tells us that the website is working, people are coming to it, they're finding what they need, and then they're converting. It also helps clients close the loop on sales. So what that means is that they have this information and they email me all the time. Oh, you know that lead we got back in April. Well, I just closed the sale on it, meaning they just won the sale. And so they're able to see, yep, that one came from paid, or that one came from organic, or whatever. So they get very excited. And one of our customers, he emailed me a couple of weeks ago to say, we just received the biggest RFQ of our entire company history. And he said it came from a phone call. And he was able to go back to the report and say it was this phone call on this date. So they find this very, very helpful. And because of all this information, they're able to determine where they're going to allocate their marketing and sales dollars. And they're thinking more along terms of budget and how much should we spend and where. So it helps me. So we're not guessing anymore. We're making very informed decisions. So lastly, as I said, I've been using Matomo for a year now. I love it. Matomo has not paid me to say this. I do. I love it. It's so easy to use. Even the clients, once I get them signed on, I give them their link. And they go in and they're like, oh, wow, this is amazing, because they can see it. It makes sense to them. Everybody loves the visitor log. And then I personally like the heat maps, which Google used to have, Google Analytics, and they took it out years ago. But the heat maps are amazing. The session recording tool, that's also really helpful. So we're able to see how customers are using various pages. And again, it just re-emphasizes our whole point of you need to reduce distractions. People are so distracted, and you need to make it so they can find the information really fast and get to that conversion. So it's helping us build better websites, and the customers, they love this too. One customer I was sitting with, we were looking at some of the session recordings, and he said, oh my God, I know exactly what that customer is looking for. And he said, we need to do, and I said, yep, there you go. So they're both very helpful tools, also privacy oriented. So with all the customers that I work with, I have to sign NDAs. They also have to sign NDAs with these companies that they're working with. So it's very privacy oriented. We don't have to upload customer data or anything like that. So that's really good. And also, there's a track record with Matomo. It's used by big companies and small companies. And in fact, one of our clients said, oh my gosh, NASA's using this? Okay, that's great. You can add us. So it was instant
I didn't even know
credibility.
That.
Yeah, it's on the homepage. So anyway, that's our presentation. You can find me at huffindustrialmarketing.com, and I'm on LinkedIn. James Alavocius is a freelance coder. If you need any coding help, he's available for hire, and you can email him or find him also on LinkedIn. And that wraps up our presentation. Any questions? I think we're done.
Yeah, the chat is open for questions. So everyone, if you'd like to share your thoughts, or if there are any concrete questions that you have, this is the moment to do so. Okay, there are no questions in the chat, so I think everything is well covered. So thank you very much, Diana and James, for joining us today. It was a real pleasure having you here.
Thank you.
And yeah,
this was awesome.
Okay, that's really great. Thank you very much.